So continuing with our trend reporting series, so you can keep up to date on trend report for the fall winter 25-26 season, we're going to be going through woven fabrics that you should be aware of. So first off, we're going to talk about the Satorial and staple plans that they have for the season. So one type of fabric you want to be aware of is shirting fabric. So shirting fabric is typically like the poplin or the broadband or even linen fabric that you usually see with button up and shirt. So this type of fabric is usually made out of cottons and linens. What you use for your classic shirt designs and silhouettes. You can use these in dresses, regular top. You want to use them in like the plain and classic colors. Also including things like stripes and just very traditional looking shirting styles. Going further into this, going into the classical Satorial, which things like Oxfords and twills, suiting fabrics, gabardines, a little bit heavier, where you're using this more for things like vests and suit sets and wide leg pants, tapered pants, overalls, classic draping. These are great for, they add a little bit more weight and a little bit more body to your overall look. And so you want to play with the neutrals for this. So you can play in like the beiges, browns, and grays. Also, there's lots of, in suiting, there's a lot of heathering happening because you're using a lot of times not just cotton, but you're also using wools in this series. So you want to pay attention to that. In keeping with this line, we're also looking at some fluid material. So this includes viscose and silk and polyester crepes that just have a lot of movement and fluidity to it. You want to think of like that flowing, draping cocktail dress or gown where when you're walking with it, you can see the fabric looks like it's liquid, just like following your body. It allows for a lot of drape and a lot of movement. You can use it to create frills and ruches. It's usually one colored in the season and with a lot of smooth faced fabric. So you want to kind of use this in like long and wide dresses, minimalist sets, potentially some wide leg trousers, shirt, and also elaborate blouses. So next one is going to be your functional fabrics. So this can be any fabric that generally has performance characteristics to it. So things like anti-odor, antibacterial, antimicrobial, wicking, UV protection, and you'll see a lot of this type of fabric going into like streetwear, athleisure. You're going to see it in boiler suits, cargo pants, skirts, sports items like coats and shirts, which are typically made in nylon or in cotton for thicker items, and incorporating things like waterproofing and double-sided versions to create that overall aesthetic. In moving into the lighter fabrics range, you're going to be finding in the season, we're going to see a lot of satin fabrics. So satin, very shiny fabric. You'll see it in elaborate dresses, slip dresses, flowy pants, shirts, party wear, cocktail wear, anywhere you want to see a lot of high shine, but still soft. It gives a little bit of structure and it's great to be using with layers because generally the satin fabrics are very lightweight. And so we're focusing on the lightweight and the fluidity of fit for this season. And then further for that, we are also going to be seeing a lot of sheer fabrics. So a lot of silk, polyester versions of chiffon and organza and georgette. In the cotton and linens range, you'll see a lot of gauze and voile and muslin. And in polyesters, you'll see this in kind of like power mesh kind of fabric. This is going to be used for light blouses and cocktail wear and skirts. We're going to continue with the association of movement in this season. And then you want to keep this where the texture of the fabric is smooth and the look is monochromatic. So the next fabric focus is going to be on leathers and laminates. And this kind of follows everything that's been happening for the season for fabrics, where it's kind of a juxtaposition for what you're going to look for. Because not only are you going to be seeing the plain staple types of leathers, which means things like calf leathers, pebble leathers, and full grain leathers, but you want to focus on the leathers that are more on the softer side, that have more comfort to it, because you're going to be using these for styles like jackets and blazers and Bermuda pants and skirts, but you want these to be more on the fitted range. So you're going to want to have leathers that are like not heavy weighted leathers, but something that can be contoured and fitted to the body, which usually means like the softer lambskin or calf leathers and everything. But you also want something that has a very smooth surface that has maybe some very subtle shine, but having a little bit of luxury and comfort at the same time. And then the juxtaposition to that is we have a glossy version, and these can be the patent leathers and also alternative leathers, which means you can have faux leathers that have slight texture to it, but then you're putting like in a type of epoxy on top of it. So you kind of like make it more shiny and more glossy, and that kind of gives it more futuristic look for the season. So for these also, you're going to be using these in blazers and jackets and mini skirts and other pieces that are like kind of like sports influence for the season. The glossier leathers are more intense for you, so that you're giving a very bold statement with it. So be more futuristic, a little bit more relaxed fit. In the jacket, you can have these in oversized jackets, oversized bombers, things like that. But at the same time, even with that glossiness and that strict fit that you need, underneath, your baseline is going to be those softer leathers or faux leathers with some subtle texture to it. So those are the nice little dichotomy we're having in the season, which I'm very excited about. Furthermore, in the leathers, now we also move into the textures, because the season is really loving subtle, soft textures as well. So these move into the line of suedes and nubucks. You know, you can think of them as the reverse side or the brush side of leather, the hide side, right? So you're using these in dresses and jackets and vests and flared pants and skirts. They're very opaque, but they give like a very good softness. But then also, if you're mixing this in, like if you're mixing in the suede and nubuck with the plain leathers, you're also playing on texture and layering those more dimension in your style. Because they're suede, typically they are more in the heavier weighted fabrics. You want to use this in more of like your oversized pieces, because that heaviness in the fabric really pulls in and really helps to further the design. And then the last category in these fabrics is going to be our denim fabrics, right? So there's a few directions you can go into when it comes to denim. And again, we've got kind of a dichotomy and a juxtaposition when it comes to denim, just like all of our fabrics. You know, you have the clean and then the texture. So first of all, we're gonna go with the twill denim. Right, so these are the true denim pieces. You're kind of not going to have very much wash to them. They're going to be using the true colors for the denim fabrics, and you want to use full body twill bases for this. Garments you're going to be using this in are things like utility pants, cargo pants, skirts, Bermudas, overlay pieces, kind of like jackets and maybe overalls and everything, depending on what you're designing for the season. So you want to pay attention to having some light-weighted structure to the garments. Don't do something overly designed when it comes to this with a whole bunch of pockets. Even though you're doing cargo pants, obviously do the traditional cargo pants with the pockets on the thighs and everything, but you don't need to go overboard with it. And most of these denims will be using dark shades. So think of like your navies and your graphites, but then also moving into the earthier tones, kind of like your fatigue greens and your olive shades. Those will be the emphasis for the season. And then also building on those, we're maybe overlapping different tonal shades in this for the season. So that's gonna be really great for you. And then we have the love, which is going to be in the denim with light washes. So you can think of things like your white washes or your light blues, your baby blues, where, you know, you're using an enzyme or a stone wash or a rinse wash or a garment wash to pull out a little bit of the colors in the denim and kind of giving a little bit of a faded look, but kind of more of an even faded look. Like we don't really want to see too much fadedness in the contours of the pant, but with this light wash, you're kind of giving it a little bit more with the enzyme or the rinse wash or the garment wash. So you're using these more in for things like fitted dresses, jackets, overcoats, skirts and pants. And then just making sure that any washes you do are not going to be very engineered where, you know, you're going to see a lot of washes frayed on the edges or fading on the edges. It's kind of very tonal, very gentle wash. That's what you want to focus on with this. But when it comes to the wash, we're more focusing on the color of the wash rather than the fades. And then finally, with denim, what we're going to be focusing on first is going to be our stoned and dirty denims, right? So these ones are actually going to be the types of washes that actually add texture and fade and distress onto the garment. So we're using a heavy enzyme wash, acid washes, sanding, pigment washes, and brushing. You're going to use these for cargo pants, straight pants, mid and long skirts, and cropped jackets. You're not only just pulling out the color for the garment, but you are also pulling out patches of color to create those fades in very specific areas. So focusing on the pockets, the inner thighs, maybe the knees, maybe the very bottom of your butt area. That's why you want to kind of go for medium to dark base colors, because that's a lot more color for you to pull out to really capture the essence of this trend. And then after that is going to be laser printing. So instead of using washes and pulling out color for the fabrics to create your design, this one you can be much more intentional. You can use prints on this one. Think of it as you doing an all over repeat pattern, but with laser. Instead of using water, you're using lasers to actually etch out the design, and the design will look much more three-dimensional, because instead of adding color where we're putting print color on top of the pant, we're using the lasers to really pull the color away from the pant. So you can be really intentional with this. It's going to be an engineered print. Like I said, you can do things like either take an actual print, say like you have your logo and you want to do a repeat of your logo on the pant, or you have florals. You just kind of want to keep the print very simple, and we're kind of going for like a little bit smaller prints. So oversized prints is not something you want to do. Kind of keep with the smaller repeat prints, and then really just use that laser to just etch in those designs into the denim. And then you can also use the laser to actually do what you want to do with the stone wash if you want to go for a more sustainable way of executing the dirty and stone wash, because you can actually just kind of design and engineer your dirt and stone and wear onto the pant with the lasers. I hope that helps you out with the fall winter 25-26 collections. I'm very excited about this. I love working with design inspirations that are kind of a contrast to each other and everything, because it's like there's a whole bunch of different ways you can go, and it's a lot more of a playground for you in terms of design, right? Because when things are very laser focused for fabrics and color and design, you kind of don't have a whole lot of ways to go. But when it's so open-ended like it is for this season, then it's a lot more fun to play around in. So if you make some designs and you're using some of these trends, please let me know down below. I would love to know what fabric trends resonates with you. And I hope you like this content. If you do, please like and subscribe below. And my next video is gonna be right over here, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.